back to the program. So, what did happen in Sweden?
You look at what's happening last night in Sweden. Sweden. Who would believe this? Sweden.
See, that drew quizzical looks all the way from Stockholm to Sundsvall because, of course, nothing happened Friday night in Sweden. But last night something did. Riots in a heavily immigrant neighborhood. So is life imitating the art of the president? Let's ask Ivan Watson, who's live for us in Stockholm. Ivan.
Hi, Christian. You know, police say that the disturbances, the riot that was in the neighborhood of Rinkeby on Monday night, that's something that periodically happens in that community, a community which has a large immigrant community, but also a great deal of unemployment and low education levels as well. In that series of incidents, one police officer was injured when an object hit them in the arm. And we went to that neighborhood, and it was kind of hard to even find evidence of the damage that resulted in 10 cars being burned. But it is that kind of thing that has driven a right-wing political party here, the Sweden Democrats, to see ideologically themselves side by side with Donald Trump when he brought up Sweden. Take a listen to what one of that party's leaders said to me earlier today.
It was good, and I'm very grateful to President Trump that he addressed this issue. It's very important to us here, and I also understand the motive to why he did it. There's a discussion right now about border control and refugees in the United States, and I think Sweden is a good example to put forward as a bad example.
Now, it's important to note that the government here insists that there is not any direct correlation between the big surge of immigration, of asylum seekers that came, particularly in 2015, about 165,000 of them seeking asylum here at the peak, and crime or organized crime in this country, which is something that it has struggled with for a long time. And it's important to note what one prominent former politician, Carl Bildt, former prime minister, former foreign minister, what he wrote in response to Donald Trump on Twitter, quote, "Last year, there were approximately 50% more murders only in Orlando and Orange County in Florida, where Trump spoke the other day, than in all of Sweden. Bad." So police I've talked to, counterterrorism experts I've talked to, they say that they are not seeing the new refugee arrivals being responsible for any Islamist-inspired terrorist attacks or organized crime. That the problems that they are seeing are coming from Swedish-born citizens. They're problems that people are dealing with that have been in existence for some time. I guess in the end, what's important to note here is that immigration here in Sweden, as in increasingly around the world, a global and very contentious debate. Christian?
Ivan, indeed it is that. And thanks for joining us from Sweden. We're going to turn to that with our next guest. But first, since his campaign-style rally on Saturday night, President Trump has had a relatively quiet few days as his emissaries around the world revert to tradition to try to reassure allies. Robert Kagan is a conservative intellectual who called out the party's embrace of Trump early on. His latest work is Backing into World War III.